The last train of the night always made the station feel too big. During the day, Maple Junction bustled, commuters rushing with coffee, the loudspeaker barking schedules, kids waving at passing freight. But after midnight, the whole place changed. The fluorescent lights hummed over empty benches. Old posters curled at the corners. The wind found every gap and funneled through the platform, carrying the smell of oil and cold metal. Conductor Shane Rudd liked the quiet, mostly because it meant fewer problems. Fewer impatient passengers, fewer last-minute sprints, fewer arguments about tickets. That night should have been routine. Stop at Maple Junction at 12:47 a.m. Board two late passengers, check doors, roll out. Simple. But as the train eased in, brakes squealing softly, Shane saw something that made his stomach tighten. A bobcat sat on the platform, right near the yellow safety line, not lurking in the shadows, not darting away from the headlights, sitting upright like it had been waiting, tufted ears high, short tail tucked close. Its coat was the color of dry grass with darker spots that seemed to flicker under the station lights. Shane blinked hard, thinking maybe it was a trick of shadows. Then it moved its head, and the light caught its eyes, golden, steady, unafraid. He'd seen coyotes near the tracks before, deer, even a bear once, far down the line. But a bobcat on a lit platform in town, at this hour, was wrong. The train came to a full stop. The doors remained closed. Shane stood in the vestibule window watching. The bobcat didn't flinch at the hiss of air brakes. It didn't bolt at the rumble of the engine. Instead, it turned its head toward the tracks, down at the gravel bed between the rails, then back toward the train, then toward the tracks again, like it was pointing. Shane's radio crackled. The engineer, Lana Park, sounded tense. "You seeing that?" "Yeah," Shane muttered. "Hold doors." "All ready," Lana said. The station was empty except for one man at the far end under the shelter, hands in pockets, watching with the kind of confusion that turns into fear if you feed it. Shane lifted a hand, signaling him to stay back. Then the bobcat stood. It padded closer to the very edge of the platform, right by the gap where the concrete dropped to the ballast. It leaned forward, staring between the rails as if it could see into the darkness under the train's headlights. And then it yowled, a short, harsh sound that cut through the night like a torn sheet. Shane's skin prickled. That wasn't a territorial call. That was alarm. He grabbed his flashlight and stepped down onto the platform, moving slowly so he didn't startle it. "Hey," he called softly, more to let it know he existed than because he expected a response. "You need to move off the edge." The bobcat turned its head toward him and held his gaze. Its ears were forward, body tense, but it didn't run. Then it looked down again, hard, and yowled once more. Shane approached the platform edge cautiously, keeping his body sideways. He shone his flashlight down onto the tracks. At first he saw only gravel and steel, dark ballast stones, the shiny top of the rail, bits of trash that always found their way here. Then his beam caught something pale wedged between two ties, a small hand. Shane's breath stopped. Not a glove, not a plastic bag. A human hand, fingers curled, trembling faintly, smeared with grime and what looked like dark blood. "Lana!" Shane's voice cracked as he snapped his radio up. "Hold the train. We've got someone on the tracks." "What?" Lana said, instantly sharp. "Where?" "Right under the platform edge, center track. There's a person, hand visible." Shane dropped to one knee, ignoring the cold seeping through his pants, and angled his flashlight deeper. A small body was wedged in the narrow space between the platform wall and the first rail. Someone had fallen or crawled down and gotten trapped in the shadowed channel that ran along the platform's base. The person's jacket was caught on a bolt. Their face was turned away, but he could hear it now. A thin, uneven breath. Alive. Shane's heart slammed. "Hey!" he shouted down, voice firm. "Don't move! I see you! What's your name?" A weak sound came back, more breath than word. The bobcat paced once behind him, tail stump snapping, then sat again at the edge as if guarding the spot. Shane keyed the radio. "Call 911, now. We need EMS at Maple Junction, Platform 1. Person trapped between platform and rail." Lana didn't hesitate. "Already calling. I'm cutting power to traction and setting brakes." Shane turned his attention back to the trapped figure. He couldn't climb down onto the tracks with the train present unless he was absolutely sure it was secure. He'd been trained for this. Track safety wasn't optional. One mistake, and he'd add another body to the problem. "Lana, confirm brakes set and power cut," he said, voice tight. "Confirmed," Lana replied. "You're clear. No movement." Shane slid off the platform carefully onto the ballast, boots slipping slightly on loose rock. The cold bit through his gloves. He kept his flashlight beam steady on the person. It was a teenage girl, maybe 14 or 15, wedged awkwardly. Her leg was twisted under her, and her cheek was pressed to gravel. She looked dazed, eyes half open. "Hey," Shane said, lowering his voice now. "Calm the way you talk to someone teetering on panic. I'm Shane. You're safe. What happened?" Her lips trembled. "I dropped my phone. I tried to get it. I slipped." A familiar story until it turned deadly. People chased, dropped things near tracks like gravity was harmless. One slip and the world became steel and stone. "Okay," Shane said. "Don't try to move your leg. I'm going to get you out." He saw why she was stuck. Her backpack strap had snagged on a metal bracket under the platform lip, holding her in a painful angle. If she'd tried to pull free, she could have made it worse. She'd probably been down here long enough to go quiet, her voice swallowed by the empty station. Unless something else hurt her. Shane reached up, feeling along the platform edge, and found the strap caught tight. He didn't have a knife on him, policy, but he had a multi-tool clipped to his belt. He flipped it open with shaking fingers, cut the strap carefully, and freed her torso. The girl gasped, pain flaring as pressure shifted. Shane braced her shoulders. "Easy, I've got you." He guided her slowly, inch by inch, sliding her out of the tight channel onto clearer ballast. He didn't lift her fully. Could be a fracture, but he repositioned her enough that she wasn't pinned against the rail. Above them, the Bobcat watched from the platform edge, eyes reflecting the flashlight beam. It didn't run even with Shane down on the tracks. It didn't approach close enough to be a threat. It simply stayed, a silent sentinel. Shane got the girl to a spot farther from the rail, then climbed back up to the platform to grab a first aid kit from the train. His hands shook as adrenaline surged. When he returned, he wrapped a blanket around her shoulders and pressed gauze to the cut on her hand. "What's your name?" he asked again, gentler. "Riley," she whispered. "Riley," Shane said firmly. "You did the right thing staying still. Help's coming." Riley's eyes flicked up to the platform edge. "What is that?" Shane followed her gaze. The Bobcat sat there still, ears forward. Riley's brow furrowed, confusion cutting through pain. "It didn't leave." "No," Shane said quietly. "It didn't." Police and EMS arrived within minutes, lights flashing across the station. Paramedics moved fast, stabilizing Riley's leg, fitting a neck collar, lifting her carefully onto a backboard. The officer took statements, eyes wide when Shane mentioned the Bobcat. "You're telling me the animal stayed here?" the officer asked, incredulous. Shane nodded. "It wouldn't leave the platform. It kept looking between the rails." The officer glanced toward the edge. The Bobcat was still there. But as the paramedics loaded Riley into the ambulance and the urgency shifted into controlled movement, the Bobcat finally stood. It stepped back from the edge, tail stump flicking once, then trotted toward the far end of the platform where the shadows deepened near the old freight shed. It paused once, looking back at the cluster of humans around the stretcher. Then it vanished into the darkness beyond the station fence, quiet as smoke. When the ambulance left and the station fell silent again, Shane stood at the platform edge staring down at the spot where Riley had been trapped. He could still see the scuffed gravel and a faint smear of blood where her hand had scraped the ballast. Lana approached, face pale. "If you'd opened the doors, if someone had stepped off without looking..." Shane swallowed hard. "Yeah." They restarted the train after clearance, but the rest of the ride felt different. The world outside the windows looked darker, more fragile. Shane kept thinking about the Bobcat sitting under fluorescent lights, refusing to leave like it had decided the platform was its post. He didn't know why it had done it. Maybe it had heard Riley's faint breaths. Maybe it had been hunting rats near the tracks and found something bigger and stranger instead. Maybe it had simply been there at the exact moment something went wrong and had chosen to stay. But Shane knew one thing with certainty. If that Bobcat hadn't held the line, hadn't drawn his eyes to the space between rails, Riley might have stayed down there until morning, or worse, until the next train arrived. And the station would have swallowed the truth the way stations always did, quietly, efficiently, with nothing left but echoes under empty lights.